Have you ever asked a question that made the world fall silent? A question so deep, so ancient, that even your heartbeat seems to pause, afraid of the answer? Where did God come from? It sounds simple at first, almost like a child's curiosity. But stay with that thought long enough, and it opens a doorway that no telescope, no philosophy, no science can ever reach. Because behind that single question hides the greatest mystery of all. If everything has a beginning, who began beginner? Think about it. Everything we've ever known, from the stars above to breath inside your chest, has a starting point. Mountains rise, rivers carve their way through stone, and even galaxies spin into life and fade away. So, naturally, our minds assume that everything must begin somewhere. But what if there's something or someone who never began? What if there was no before, because he was already there? That's when the silence begins to grow. The kind of silence that feels alive, heavy, almost sacred, as if the entire universe is holding its breath, waiting for you to understand something far bigger than time itself. Now imagine this. Before there was earth, before there were angels, before even light existed, there was only God, not floating in darkness, not surrounded by stars or clouds, just being pure, endless existence. And the more you try to picture that moment, the more your mind begins to stretch and tremble. Because how can you imagine a time before time? How can you imagine existence itself without a beginning? That's where our journey starts. In this story, we're not just looking for scientific explanations or philosophical debates. We're going deeper into the heartbeat of creation itself. We'll step beyond the limits of time, past the first spark of light, to the very thought that started everything. You might feel small in this story. We all do. But here's the wonder. Even though the mystery of God is infinite, it's also deeply personal. Because the same eternal being who existed before time somehow thought of you, before the stars, before history, before the first sunrise. Your existence was already written in his mind. Every heartbeat, every question, every moment of wonder or doubt, he saw it all. And maybe that's why you're here now, listening, asking, searching. Because somewhere deep in your soul, you already know this isn't just a question about where God came from. It's a question about where you came from. So today, we're going to travel together, not just through time, but beyond it. We'll explore the unseeable, the unthinkable, and maybe, just maybe, catch a glimpse of eternity itself. But I'll warn you, once you see what's on the other side of this question, you might never look at existence the same way again. So take a breath. Let the noise of the world fade. Because what you're about to hear might change the way you see everything. From the beginning of time to the reason you exist at all. Now let's begin where beginnings themselves were born. Everything we know begins, stars, thoughts, even love itself. But what if the one who made all beginnings never had one? To understand that, we have to go back, not in years, but beyond time, to the moment before let there be light. The eternal mystery, the existence of God and the work of creation, body section. Before God said those words, there was only God. No stars, no darkness, no sound, just pure, unbroken existence. If you could somehow step beyond a veil of time, past galaxies and light years, past atoms and silence itself, you wouldn't find emptiness. You'd find him, a being without beginning, a presence beyond measure, existence itself. It's hard for the human mind to picture that. We live inside time's cage. We measure moments, beginnings, and ends. But before there were clocks or beating hearts, God was. He didn't come from somewhere. Everything else came from him. Imagine it. Before, there was a stillness so vast that even eternity seemed to bow before it. Not a cold stillness, but alive, full, aware. The Father loving the Son reflecting the Father, the Spirit flowing endlessly between them like a river of divine light. That's not a metaphor. That's reality before reality. God was not bored. He was not lonely. Within himself existed perfect love, complete joy, infinite peace. But love, by its very nature, creates. Love desires to share. And so the eternal God willed that there would be something other than himself, a canvas upon which his glory could be revealed. And with that thought, creation began. One, the birth of time and light. There was no explosion, no sound, just a command, a voice unlike any other, speaking into the silence of nothing. Let there be light. And instantly reality obeyed. Light burst forth like the heartbeat of eternity. Time began its first tick. The cosmos stretched outward, racing to fill the command of its creator. Light wasn't just illumination. It was the first revelation of God's nature. Where there is light, there can be seen. Where there is seen, there is relationship. In that first act, God revealed that he is not distant. He is knowable. Scientists call it the Big Bang, but believers call it a word, the moment when eternal will become physical existence. From that single breath of divine intention, galaxies spun like sparks from an eternal flame. And yet, within the blinding beauty of new creation, something deeper was happening. God wasn't just making a universe. He was making a story. 2. The architecture of the cosmos. Creation was not chaos. It was art. Every law of physics, every force of nature, every thread of DNA carries the mark of divine intelligence. He separated light from darkness, sky from sea, land from void. Each act was deliberate, precise, like a composer arranging notes into a cosmic symphony. He stretched out the heavens like a scroll. He scattered stars as if they were diamonds on a fabric of night. Each star, each nebula, each orbit whispered the same truth. There is order because there is an author. Imagine the thrill of that moment. The galaxies swirling into being, suns igniting, planets cooling, oceans forming, mountains rising. From formless energy came shape, sound, color, and motion. And through it all, God saw that it was good. He wasn't surprised by beauty. He was beauty. Creation was simply the reflection of his own heart in motion. 3. The breath of life. Then came the most intimate act of all. Out of the dust of one small world, God began to shape something new. Not a star, not an angel, but a being made in his image. The Creator knelt to the ground. Can you picture that? The infinite bending down to touch the finite, the eternal breathing into the temporal. And when he breathed, that breath became life. Eyes opened, lungs filled. A heart began to beat to the rhythm of divine intention. Humanity was born, not by accident, not by necessity, but by choice. God didn't need us. He wanted us. He made humanity to know him, to walk with him, to mirror his love in the world he had just spoken into being. And when the first man opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was the face of God, for the gift of free will. But love is not love if it is forced. So, from the very beginning, God gave his creation the most dangerous and precious gift, free will. He placed man and woman in a garden bursting with life, where every breath was joy and every step was communion. Yet, in the center stood a tree, a single symbol of choice. To love God freely meant they must also have the freedom not to, and in that freedom lay both humanity's highest potential and its deepest peril. Because where there is choice, there is temptation, and where there is temptation, there is the possibility of fall. But even that God foresaw. Love, after all, takes risks. 5. The silent war before the world. Long before Adam and Eve, before the earth even cooled, there was another story unfolding, a celestial one. Among the countless beings of light that God had created, there was one whose beauty outshone them all. He was called Lucifer, the morning star. He was not evil at first. He was radiant, perfect, the reflection of divine glory. But within him, a seed of pride began to grow. He looked upon his splendor and whispered, "I will ascend." He wanted the throne, not the worship. And in that moment, heaven trembled. Lucifer's rebellion wasn't just disobedience. It was the birth of evil itself, the first fracture in eternity, the echo that would ripple through creation forever. War broke out in heaven. The archangel Michael rose with legions of light, and the heavens burned with the fury of their clash. In the end, Lucifer was cast down like lightning, along with a third of the stars, angels who followed his pride. And as they fell, time itself began to tremble, because where there had been harmony, there was now conflict. And into that battlefield, God would soon create his most mysterious creation yet, humankind. 6. The earth becomes a stage. The earth was not just a planet. It was a stage for the greatest story ever told. Every sunrise, every river, every heartbeat would echo the tension between light and darkness. Here, free will would be tested. Here, love would be proven. And here, the Creator himself would one day step into his own creation to reclaim what had been lost. Because from the moment humanity fell, God's plan of redemption was already set in motion. The cross was not plan B. It was plan A from the beginning. Before time began, the Lamb was already slain in the heart of God. 7, beyond time and space. So, where did God come from? Now, you see, the question itself is too small. God didn't come from anywhere. He is the place from which everything else comes. He is not in time. Time is in him. He is not bound by creation. Creation is bound by him. When we ask who created God, it's like asking what's north of the North Pole. It doesn't fit. It's a question born inside time, trying to explain a being outside it. From eternity past to eternity future, he simply is. That's why when Moses asked for his name, God said, I am, not I was, not I will be, just I am, existence itself, being itself, the one who holds every heartbeat, every atom, every galaxy in his eternal now. 8, the eternal purpose. Why did he create? Because love can't remain contained. Before the universe, God already had perfect love within himself. The Father, Son, and Spirit in eternal harmony. But love's nature is to give, to share, to overflow. So he created not out of need, but out of generosity. Not out of loneliness, but out of love. He created you not because he lacked something, but because he wanted someone to share his joy with. Every star in the sky, every grain of sand, every tear you've ever cried, they all exist because love wanted to be known. That's the mystery of the eternal God. 9, the echo of eternity in us. Deep inside every human soul is a whisper that doesn't belong to this world, a longing for something timeless. When we stand beneath the stars and feel small yet connected, that's eternity calling. We were made in the image of the one who has no beginning and no end. That's why our hearts ache for forever. We build monuments, write stories, chase immortality, because we were designed for something that doesn't fade. And the truth is, eternity isn't far away. It's woven into your very being. The breath of God that gave you life is still inside you, waiting for you to remember where it came from. 10, the mystery continues. So, maybe we've been asking the wrong question all along. It's not who created God, but rather, why would the creator of all things care for us at all? Why would the eternal step into time? Why would the infinite wrap himself in human flesh, walk among the broken, and die for those who forgot his name? The answer is the same as it was in the beginning: love. From the silence before creation to the cross on Calvary, every act of God has been a revelation of love that refuses to end. And that's where our story finds meaning. Because the God who existed before time began is still here, reaching across eternity, whispering your name. Conclusion, the eternal symphony. What if creation itself was never merely a beginning, but a melody still unfolding, a song that started before time and will echo long after time dissolves? As we reach the end of this journey, we realize something profound. God was never simply the first note. He is the entire song, the silence before it began, the harmony within, and the resonance that carries beyond the final chord. Human language struggles to frame this truth. We speak of beginnings and endings, of creation and completion, but eternity has no borders. In God, the canvas never ends. Each star, each heartbeat, each breath of wind is another brushstroke on an infinite masterpiece, painted by hands that never tire. When God said, "Let there be light," he was not only illuminating the void, he was revealing his very nature. For light is not merely what he made. Light is what he is. And within that light, everything else finds meaning. The dance of time and eternity. We often imagine eternity as a faraway realm, a vast golden horizon beyond the reach of our mortal days. But eternity isn't distant. It breathes right here in the pulse of existence itself. When the sun rises, it's not merely a new day. It's a reminder that time itself flows within the heartbeat of God. Think of it this way. Time is the shadow cast by eternity. It is not separate, but a reflection. And just as the shadow can never exist without the light, time can never exist apart from the Eternal One. From the first atom's vibration to the galaxies swirling in cosmic rhythm, creation dances to the tempo of divine will. And though we move within seconds, hours, and years, God remains unmoved, the still point of the turning world. He does not enter time as we do. He holds time as a painter holds a canvas, seeing the beginning and the end all at once. To him, the story is not unfolding. It already is. Past, present, and future are not lines but layers of the same eternal reality within his gaze. The mystery of love that creates. Why did God create it all? Was he lonely? Was he seeking companionship in the emptiness before creation? No, God was never alone. Before the stars burned or angels sang, there was already a love so vast, so complete, that it overflowed within the divine itself. The Father loved the Son. The Son reflected the Father. The Holy Spirit moved between them like a river of living fire. That eternal communion, that love without beginning or end, is what birthed existence. Creation was never a necessity. It was an outpouring. Love, by nature, gives. And the universe is what divine love looks like when it decides to share itself. Every atom vibrates with the echo of that decision. Every human soul carries the memory of being chosen. That is why we long, not just for meaning, but for belonging, for home, because somewhere deep within, we remember that we were dreamed of before light even existed, the fall and the flame. Yet, even in that perfection, something broke. Love that is freely given must allow the freedom to reject it. And so, in the brilliance of heaven, a single heart, once radiant, turned inward. Lucifer, the morning star, looked at his reflection and desired the throne itself. I will ascend, he whispered, but pride is the one fire that burns even in paradise. And so began the first rebellion, not of armies, but of wills. The heavens trembled. A third of the stars fell. And for the first time, the silence of eternity was shattered by the sound of war. But even this, even rebellion, was not beyond God's plan. For what is love if it cannot withstand the freedom to walk away? And what is light if it cannot shine through darkness? Out of that fall came something greater than perfection, redemption, because redemption is love-proven. It is a light that chooses to shine despite the shadow. The earth, a canvas for redemption. And so, earth was born, a sphere suspended between darkness and dawn, a stage for the grandest act of divine mercy. Here, God would show that his love was not just eternal. It was personal. He would breathe into dust, and dust would open its eyes. Humanity began fragile, flawed, but free. Every choice, every heartbeat, every act of kindness or cruelty became part of the story stretching across eternity. The Creator watching, not as a distant ruler, but as a father watching his children learn to walk. Through prophets and kings, through deserts and storms, he whispered, I am still here. And when words were no longer enough, the Word became flesh. God stepped into his own painting, walking among the colors he himself had brushed. He touched lepers, dined with sinners, and carried the weight of our rebellion to a cross. The eternal entered time, not to escape it, but to redeem it. The cross, where time meets eternity. At that moment on Calvary, something unimaginable happened. The infinite died. Eternity felt the weight of time's pain. And yet, that death was not the end. It was the hinge on which all creation turned. The cross was the bridge, the place where God's uncreated light met our created darkness and consumed it with love. From that moment, time was forever changed. The story that began with "Let there be light" found its echo in the words, "It is finished." But the end was only another beginning. The eternal now. So what does it all mean for us? The one still bound by seconds and sunsets? It means eternity is not somewhere you go after death. It's the reality that has always surrounded you. It's the breath in your lungs. It's the whisper in your conscience when you love, forgive, or create. Every time you choose compassion over pride, truth over comfort, light over darkness, you align yourself with eternity. You join the rhythm of the song that began before time, because in the end, we are not just witnesses to creation, we are part of it. We are brushstrokes on the same eternal canvas. God is not a distant deity lost in infinity. He is here, in the laughter of a child, in the tears of repentance, in the quiet between heartbeats. He has always been, he will always be, and within him, so will we. A final reflection. Perhaps the greatest truth is not who created God, but why creation still exists. Because even after rebellion, pain, and death, the divine heart still chooses love, still chooses us. And maybe that's the most profound mystery of all, that the eternal one, who needs nothing, chose to make a universe simply so that one day you could know him. So as you step away from this story, remember, you are not an accident of time. You are a thought of eternity, and the one who was and is to come is still writing your name among the stars.